Hello, welcome, and thank you for 50,000 subscribers. This is a huge milestone for me. It took me 7-ish years to get here, and it's all thanks to all of you at home watching my channel that, well, this is really possible. So again, thank you very much. This actually really snuck up on me in a way that I wasn't really anticipating, so I didn't know what else to do for a 50,000 subscriber special. So what I'm going to do is show you some behind the scenes footage of what my Subscribestar and Patreon providers see on some behind the scene footage. And some of the stuff I've been doing a lot of lately are range reviews. I'll take some scopes, I'll go to one of my ranges, I'll shoot them, I'll use them, and I'll talk about them. It's a really simple and easy way for me to not only get more experience with the optic, but then give first-hand accountability for how they perform at various tasks. I think it's a really great way for me to get better with them, understand them more, and also elaborate on them more for all of you during the, well, full-on reviews. So, without further ado, again, thank you all very much for all your love and support over the years. It has truly meant the world to me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Hello and welcome back to one of my range reviews. I figured the last one went really well, explaining all first focal plane LPVOs at 1x that I've been reviewing for the last 2 or so months now. And I really enjoyed making that video. So I figured why not do something very similar with the offerings from Primary Arms. On your left, we have the SLX 1X, which has been permanently affixed to my Ruger PCC in 9mm as my homestead gun. It's perfectly suited for that. It's, in case the battery dies, the illumination fails, got the etched reticle. It's small, it's lightweight, it fits on there beautifully. I have a wonderful cheek weld with it. And up until recently with the GLX, I thought I would never replace it. But then Primary Arms introduced the GLX 1X Micro Prism. I do believe these are still made in China, like the SLX lineup are, because a lot of the GLXs that I've seen lately are moving away from being made in the Philippines and they're now being moved to China. Nevertheless, I know it's a big disappointment, but I love Filipino-made scopes physically. They're really, really great. But optically, sometimes they can be a little hit or miss. The Chinese have really upped their game with their optical capacity lately. Anyway, the GLX is larger, it's heavier, but it's got much larger lenses front and rear. It's got push button illumination as opposed to the rheostat on the SLX, which was an issue that I had with mine. And then the other one that I had reviewed. So there are benefits to the GLX over the SLX, especially with the battery compartment being so svelte and clean. It's a really good looking optic, and typical with most Primary Arms stuff, it feels really good in hand too. So I'm going to be running the SLX and then the GLX, and then I decided to roll in on a bit of an oddball, the GLX 2X. Why? Well, it was on my desk when I was packing up, ready to come here, and I looked at it and I went, I haven't shot with that thing in a very long time. Let me bring this along for the ride and see if I can be competitively quick with the 2X as opposed to a 1X at 15 to 20 yards today. So without further ado, I want to get these mounted up and zeroed, and let's get to shooting. So the last time I was here, I was shooting my Ruger 1022 because I put 300 plus rounds through it in like an hour and a half. Today I'm shooting my 9mm because I'm only reviewing 3 optics, and because this is the gun that these optics are going to probably be in contention to going on. I probably won't keep the 2X GLX on this gun, but I wanted to see how effective it could be in these closer distances compared to their, technically it's smaller brothers. Anyway, SLX 1X is on top. This is in the exact same position I had it when I last had it zeroed. I just confirmed zero with it. It is fine. And well, that's really all there is to it. For anyone wondering, this is a Magpul backpacker stock, which is awesome. It's a great shooting gun. Ergonomically, it's vastly improved of the factory stock. Do I wish I had the MMP or the Smith & Wesson takedown or folding 9mm? I sometimes do, because I have a lot more MMP mags than I do Glock magazines. I don't have a Glock, but I do have Glock magazines specifically for this. Anyway, this is not a gun review, this is an optic review. So Before we get magazine in the gun, let's just see. I feel like I've really got to bury my cheek down on this because I have the lowest spacer in here. Panning across, there is a little bit darkening to the image. It's almost 1700 hours on August 29th. Very cloudy, overcast day today. So not great brightness conditions. Illumination is off, but the reticle is super easy to pick up and spot. There is a little bit of darkening to the image, but the contrast is still about the same, if not maybe a little bit better, but the image is darker. The view through it is wonderful, as it always is. I could, ideally, to get the largest view looking through it, I would have to choke up on it, but again, these are mostly designed for ARs. Most Prisms are, but even with no spacer in between on the lowest possible setting and the rearward most offset you can get it from factory, at least for my length of pole, which is about 13.75 inches or so. I don't know exactly what this is, but I value close to like 13.75, 13.5. At least for here right now, this works more than sufficiently. If it was a pick slot or two closer to my eye, it would be even better, but it's still good. It's still more than usable. Let's get on target a couple times. This gun is heavier than my 10-22, so it's gonna take a little bit longer for me to get into the zone, and I haven't really shot this thing in probably like a year or so. So not ideal for my homestead gun, but let's give it a go. I should have mentioned illumination. Actually, no, I'll talk about illumination momentarily. Let me not shoot other optics by accident. I'm just going to bring it up on the round gong in the middle, and let's see what happens. Beep. I'm going to keep the safety on for all of these just to get the muscle memory down. Beep. Let's do one more. Beep. Simple as that. Fast, easy, consistent, accurate. Reticle is awesome. Eye relief on this thing is awesome. Distortion, I talked about the colors. Very flat image and very little shift. So if I'm looking at the plate rack on the far left side, the horizontal beam, if I split half the rack through the scope, half of it in my regular peripheral vision, it's like if you were to go there and take a tape measure, it's probably about an inch or so higher through the scope than it is to the naked eye. Not ideal. It's not going to be like most red dots where it's going to be perfectly flat, or at least a lot flatter, but it's not jarring like some LPVOs can be. Like if I'm looking at the gong and I come up on it, I'm not wondering why did it move when I get on target. It's where it needs to be by about 3/4 of an inch to an inch at 15-ish or so yards. So not terrible. Let's do a little transitions. Let's go gong in the middle or round plate in the middle and full IPSC to the right. We'll just do 1, 2. See how she can shift. Beep. Fine. Going from side to side really fast because the eye relief on this is so wide. I have no problems keeping a good view looking through this thing. I do have a very good cheek weld on this with the riser on the rear and the minimum height for this SLX 1X. It's basically as low as it can go. I would actually prefer it if it was a little bit higher. So I really have a good solid cheek weld in there. Let's do it again until we run out of ammunition. Beep. And let's go for a hostage headshot. Beep. I got one more in me. You know what? Didn't talk about illumination. Green illumination on full here is daytime bright. Again, very high, very cloudy. It's very cloudy today. So not very bright, but the green illumination on this thing is very bright. No offs in between all the settings. Just go down to 0. There are 2 night vision settings that they claim are night vision capable. We will be testing that. And for me to get where I'd be very comfortable using this, brightness setting 12 out of 13 is good. 13 is a little bit too bright for me in this environment. Green is also not my preferred color. I do prefer red, but at least it's nice that they give you that option. All right, I think this is it's my second to last round. So I'll do 2 on the hostage target. Beep. It's as simple as that, folks. It's great. For something small, lightweight, compact, and a prism, it's wonderful. Why a prism over a red dot? I'll talk about that at the very end. All you need to know is right now, the SLX is excellent. All right, GLX is now mounted up. I just confirmed 0. Everything is good to go. The GLX is larger in many ways, heavier, and more expensive than the SLX. But is it any better? That's the real question. One way or the other, Primary Arms is trying to make something for everybody. But again, I'll touch on a lot of things at the tabletop at the end. Everything on this is set basically perfect for my eye. It's in the exact same mounted position on my rail. Let's see how the eye relief looks. Eye relief is basically exactly the same as the SLX. If I move my head about a pixel too farther or closer to the optic, it definitely fills out the view looking through it. But then you see more of the scope body. Where this is basically perfect for me. And again, I have that leeway of if I need to get into the prone position, my head's going to be chalked up closer to it. And even up here, I don't know if you could see that too well, but even up here, I have a perfect view looking through it. And way back here, I have a perfect view looking through it. They're wonderful in that aspect. Anyway, what else can I note while I'm here before we start shooting? The darkening to the image is the exact same as with the SLX. Contrast is still very good. Because the GLX is larger, it mounts a little bit higher than the SLX. So my head's a little bit more upright than with the SLX, which is, it might be a little bit faster, but I don't know, the SLX felt really good. Shift, looking at the far left plate rack, the shifting does look more noticeable, meaning that there's more of a shift. Because I have them all in front of me, I would say the GLX in percentage-wise has about 30 to 40% more shift than the SLX. Will that be noticeable for a lot of people? Probably. But is it the end of the world? Not really. Let's see if I have any problems with it getting on target. Like if I'm on target and I go from low ready to on it, it looks like the target's moving up. If you really pay attention and look for it, you'll see almost anything. We'll see how it does when we start running it, but nevertheless, there is definitely some shift to the image. As far as distortion goes, or fisheye, very minimal, very flat. Flatter than the SLX, and the SLX is almost glass flat. They're both very, very good. Colors, like I said, are a little, well, the brightness is a little bit darker. There's definitely something going on with the glass, but contrast does look improved on some of the shadowy areas on the berm. It looks like you could pick up a little bit more detail between an object and the area around it. So a little bit of darkness to the image in these conditions, is that really a problem? No. If you're running this for home defense in the middle of the night, maybe, but put a flashlight on it. I do plan on putting a flashlight on this to help rectify some of that, but from my testing so far, it creates too much of a shadow with the barrel opposite of where my flashlight is. So I have to figure out what I ultimately want to do with that. Anyway, let's get some rounds on it. No, I don't usually tuck my shirt in like this, but I got my magazine holster on my belt because this is what I would use at home, just slip it on whatever I'm wearing, and I'm good to go. Going to start with the round plate in the middle, and we're going to go from the low ready and get on it. So, beep. Do it again. Beep. Beep. I have no problems with that. Can I notice the target moving when I'm going from down to up? Not really. It's one of those things that in the heat of the moment, or if you're really paying attention to your target and your general mechanics of shooting, I don't think you're really going to notice that much of an issue. Let's try some transitions. Beep. No issues as far as hitting the eye box limits. Very bright image. Well, very wide image. Beep. Despite the fact that this barrel is very fluted, there's still a lot of weight out front. So I try not to move way too fast and then have momentum carry the gun out. So that's why with this gun in particular, I'll try to slowly shift over or go fast and then slow down. Some other guns, I don't have to do that. My 1022, for example. But with this, I like to go a little bit easier on transitions. All right, 2 rounds left. Let's aim for that hostage target. Beep. I clipped that first round on the inside, but I still hit it. I saved the hostage, and the bad guy is dead twice. GLX seems pretty solid. Illumination is on this red version, brighter than the green. Battery on the SLX is old, but I don't think it's lost a lot of its juice. The red definitely seems to be more noticeable, but that could just be my eye thing, not, you know, the optic thing. You know, I got another magazine. Let's go again for that, that hostage target. Beep. Brightness is actually too bright. It obscured some of my target downrange. So if I was to do that again with 3 or 4 brightness levels lower than max, I think it would be better to help pick up contrast from the reticle to the target, but not so much brightness that it would wash it out. Let's try that again. Beep. Oh, I just nicked the edge. All right, last shot. Make it count. Beep. The view through it is larger than the SLX. It's a larger optic. It mounts a little bit higher. There is a little bit more shift to the image that I notice. Glass clarity-wise, sharpness-wise, they're basically right next to one another. It's just the biggest thing is the view looking through it. The GLX is nice and large, but the SLX is not what I consider small and tight. Is there a benefit to running the GLX if you value something like the size, the eye box or the view looking through it as being larger? I know I do in a lot of different cases. Then the GLX is definitely going to be a little bit closer to you. But I really don't think the SLX is so far behind to just put it to the wayside. I've said a lot of good things about the GLX 2X over the years. When I first reviewed it, I thought it was the best Prism that Primary Arms had made at the time. Do I still think that? I think it really strikes a sweet spot between capacity and overall usability for a really good price point. And that's what Primary Arms is usually best known for, right? Finding a balance between things. Anyway, the 2X basically has been discontinued for as far as I know. Every once in a while they pop back up in stock or they pop up on sale, but I don't think that they're actively advancing this exact scope anymore, which is really, really unfortunate. I do believe these are made in China. Yep, made in China. And I think that if you're looking for something that's an in-between prism or just a little bit unique and special, this is it. I don't think this is great for very close distances, but we're going to see how effective I can be with this at 15 or so yards. I think the sweet spot for this is that 30 to 50 yard range and beyond, especially on larger targets. And you just want something very simple. There's not much else to really say. This is a non-cantilever mount, so it's going to be farther away from my eye, but it's going to be higher. Let's see how that's going to play into how effective I can be with this. The gun is clear, magazine is out. I'm going to get on my round plate. Beep. Cheek weld is definitely higher. Beep. But I don't think I'm going to be too slow. Beep. On the draw and making a very fast first shot, because I have the muscle memory down for using the gun at this point, and the cheek weld isn't that dissimilar. It's certainly going to be a little bit higher. This is where I need to be for this. This is where I was for the GLX-1X. That was where I was for the SLX-1X, roughly. So I just have to keep my head in a more upright position and go beep, come up. I might actually be faster on the first shot with this than those two, just from head position. Glass-wise, it looks brighter than the other two, as far as there's less darkening to the image. Contrast is very high. The reticle is basically the same. Eye relief, where I am right here with this, is actually ideal. If I choke up any hot closer to it, of course I could still use it, but I could still pull back from to about here and still use it. So as far as usable eye relief goes, exceptionally good. This does have a rheostat, and the red illumination on this is in between daytime visible and daytime bright. If I was to pull this up on target at full brightness, I don't think it would be as distracting as the GLX-1X. But again, this is a very old battery. I believe this is the 762 by 39 reticle. Yes, or 300 blackout. And I've never really put it in Streklock or done the ballistic calculations to see what this would be like for a 9mm out of a 16-inch barrel, but I bet it might be pretty freaking close. Anyway, enough talking. Let's get rounds downrange and see how I can fare with this thing. I'm going to start on our round plate in the middle and go from there. Beep. No issues. No issues. Beep. I think I actually might be faster with this. Again, head position. This is why you got to try different setups. Don't be afraid to try something that you're not familiar with, just to see if maybe it works better for you. With my AR, having the regular EOTech up there was fine. But then I put the absolute Unity riser on it, and it's even better. I never thought I would think that, but it just functions better whether I'm using nods or not. All right, one more time on the round gong, round plate. Beep. No issues. First round shot, 15-ish yards with a 2X. Let's work on some transitions. Beep. Maybe a half a second delay just to make sure that I got the target or I didn't go past the target. With the 1X, it's really easy to look through the optic and see what's going on around you and be able to line those two up. With this, because there is some magnification there, it's a little bit harder for me to do that. I do shoot with both my eyes open, but going from like right to left, it's a little bit harder for me to pan with my eye first and then bring the gun over. But if I'm going left to right, it's a little bit easier. So let's give that a go. Beep. About the same. Confident shots. I knew the reticle was on target before I broke the trigger, and being able to pick up the target didn't seem that hard. Got 3 rounds left. Let's go for the hostage target. Beep. I pulled that shot a little bit fast. I should have slowed down a touch just to make sure that it was going to be a good shot, but it was still a good shot. Let's try that 2 more times. Beep. That's not good. Whoops. All right, let me take a slow shot, make sure my zero hasn't shifted. Earlier I had adjusted my zero. I thought I brought it up enough to be properly zeroed. I did not. It's still shooting low. It was fine for the larger targets, but I'm aiming more towards the center to bottom third of that little swinger plate, and I must have nicked the shoulder. So that's my bad. Let me do that again with the swinger and see if I don't kill the hostage. Beep. Okay, my zero is off. That's a my bad, not an optics bad. As far as shift to the image, we can't really notice any of it because it's 2x and we're at really close distances. Parallax will become an issue no matter what. But as far as distortion goes, it's so flat. It's so flat. It's flatter than the 1Xs, and the 1Xs are already really good. But this thing is just like a frozen lake. So I can just make out the far right side of the horizontal plate for the plate rack and look through the optic. And whereas the 1Xs were when you look through the scope at the plate rack, the rack was a little bit higher. With the 2X, it's a little bit lower because it's magnified in more. And if you were to take that and zoom in, it's going to go down and spread out. So because this thing is a 2X, it actually seems to be more lined up to my eye than the 1Xs are. Maybe that means that those 1Xs are actually slightly less than 1X, and that's why it was shifting up and in, not down and out. I hope that makes sense to you guys. And girls. So I'm gonna focus with my right eye on the round plate and just bring the scope into frame. It does seem like the image is moving up a little bit, but because we have magnification, it's not as noticeable. Not as noticeable. Let's go for a couple different plates here and there. Hostage. Come on, there we go. Barrel is very hot, but again, I know my zero isn't ideal, but it's still usable even in these distances. Is it going to be what I'm going to choose for my homesteader gun? Absolutely not, because I don't need a lot of magnification for target identification. This would be used inside my house, maybe to the maximum reaches of my property at 70-ish yards. I don't need target identification. I have binoculars in my bedroom next to this gun. I'll pull out my binoculars for target identification, and that's it. However, if you want a little bit extra capacity at 50 yards and beyond as your primary distance, and you want something that's capable inside that, it's more than capable. It's more than capable. So what are the takeaways from what we just accomplished here today? All three of these are capable, very capable of being used in very close distances. 15 yards, that's pretty close. Anything closer than that, you're probably not going to be trying to aim anyway. I'll start with the GLX 2X. I only rolled this out just to get some time behind it again. It's been a very long time since I used one of these in actual usage like this, and I have to say, I still love it a lot. Zero issues with the eye box. Transitioning fast from target to target, even though it's a 2X, I was always right behind it, looking through it without issue. Illumination on this thing is very good, more than usable enough. These do have shake awake, auto off, so turn it on to the brightness setting you like it, leave it, it'll shut off, and as long as the thing isn't being shook like crazy all day long, the battery should last you a very long time, like this one has. The build quality on these are fantastic, and I truly, truly adore this thing. Would I put this on a rifle and actually use it? The problem is I like having fewer things in my life so I could master more of them. I only have 3 pistols. I kind of want to bring it down to only 2 pistols. And the same thing with rifles. Like rifles that I'm going to grab and possibly use, I want less deviation between them. So this way I can use it more effectively, more efficiently. I would love, though, to put this on like a 16 or an 18-inch AR and just have it be as lightweight and as simple as possible to give me maximum capacity with a fixed 2X. Will it be a detriment as far as using it in closer range, closer distances like this in a fast environment? Yes, especially when it's compared to a 1X, whether it be a 1X Prism or a red dot or holographic sight in conjunction with a magnifier. I do feel like for a lot of people, running a red dot and a magnifier combination would be beneficial. However, we must go full circle back to why would you bother with a prism like this in the first place? I have to take out my earplugs because I just sound weird. I sound weird all the time, but extra weird. Why would you buy one of these? Well, if you have an astigmatism or really bad vision, or you want the extra safety net of having an etched reticle in a little optic like this. In a small, lightweight 1X package, very few companies offer something like this. And as a result, Primary Arms really has the market by the balls. I don't know why other manufacturers aren't trying to get up to where Primary Arms is with their 1X microprisms, but I don't think many other companies could do much better than what Primary Arms is currently doing, especially at the price point that these come in at. These are routinely under $300, and it's a lot of optic for the money. They've been robust. I haven't really seen many people complain about them failing. The only issue I did have was with the battery compartment. The illumination was going in and out on me, but it was just the cap. On the SLXs, just cinch this down really tight and you should be fine. I haven't had an issue with this since. Green versus red, personal preference, I prefer red. This is green only because I'm not really going to use this with the illumination. If I'm using this in very low light environments, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But out here, in a very green environment in the Northeast, red stands out way more than green. But inside of a home environment or a closer range environment, illumination isn't as valuable to me, at least on a prism like this. On a red dot or holographic sight, yes, it becomes much more important because that's your sole way of aiming. At least with this, you have the option. So, you buy one of these if you want the safety net of having an etched reticle and illumination, and having your adjustable eyepiece in the back. Not a lot of prisms have this. ACOGs don't have this. A lot of people don't need them for ACOGs, but if you, again, have really bad vision or you want the ability to fine-tune it, no one else offers this. So SLX or GLX, that's why you'd buy one of these. But again, with that being said, I'm going to transition back to the 2X. Why would you buy this? Similar case in point. Red dots or holographic sights just don't work for you, or you don't want to have multiple components on your firearm that can fail. Technology nowadays has come a really long way, both with red dots and magnifiers and mounting solutions. So would I be overly concerned about having a red dot and a magnifier, both of them failing? One or the other, maybe. But if you want to have as simple of a package as possible, and you want an etched reticle, and you need a rear diopter to adjust it to your eye, the GLX 2X is a fantastic option. The 3X and the 5X, a lot of people are going to talk about. I've mentioned in my Prism selection video or buyer's guide where you should really run the 2X and when you should go from a 2X to a 3X. And it's just a matter of functional distance. If you want to run just a Prism, the 2X like this, as you saw, I had no problems running this inside 15 yards. And I have friends, and I've only run these out to about 300 yards, but I've had friends that have ran these out to 400 yards with very effective results. So why would you bump it to a 3X? Only if you need more target identification and that little, well, you need more magnification for target identification. The views through them are a little bit larger, but the eye relief is a lot tighter. But if you start planning out on longer distances consistently, like 150, 200 yards plus is your normal, 3X and 5X start to make more sense, especially if you plan on running a piggy dot red dot to use it as a 1X than your Prism magnification. I think that this 2X is better suited for just running the Prism by itself for all the reasons why I explained it. But on my 9mm PCC, this will not be going on top. I think if I was to use that gun more frequently out at longer distances, this would be an excellent option, especially worrying about the drops on 9mm at distance. This would be an excellent option. But for my homesteader gun, the 2X is not up to snuff. So that leaves us with two options: the tried and true SLX and the brand new big boy GLX. There's a lot to say with both of these, but it comes down to this. The GLX is the SLX, but larger. If you want what the SLX offers, but in a slightly larger package, you get the GLX. If you value push button illumination, you get the GLX. If you prefer a rheostat, you go with the SLX. If you want to save a little bit of money, but you don't care about specs or anything like that, you go with the SLX. If you want the largest view possible and the sleeker of the two packages, you go with the GLX. So really, you're splitting it right down the middle as far as which one is best. It all comes down to what you value more. For me and my setup on that gun, I think I still value the SLX. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's simpler in a way, because if I want to adjust my illumination on the fly quickly, it's a lot quicker than the push buttons on this are easily accessible. However, it's completely flat. There's no raised part. There is a little indentation on the buttons for the arrows going down, so you can technically see it, but I can't really feel that. So I put my finger over here, I have no idea what I'm touching. If these buttons were raised up a 1/16 of an inch, it'd make a huge difference. I'm actually going to talk to Primary Arms about making that change before the review comes out. And that's gonna be one of my nitpicks. Like, buttons are great. If you could see them and use them, well, actually, if you could use them without having to see them. This doesn't really seem to be the case. There's nothing wrong with this though. I think it's an excellent option as opposed to the SLX, but I do wish there was a little bit more out of it. The brightness out here, or the brightness looking through this, was the exact same as the SLX. I was expecting it to be a little bit brighter. Sharpness and resolution wise, they both seem about the same. I would reckon, I'm not going to go on record saying that they're using the same glass, but I would hazard a very strong guess that they are using very similar glass. The objective lenses are much larger on the GLX, as is the rear ocular lens. But looking at these two side by side, I don't think there's as much of a brightness difference between these two as some might want to claim. Is there a difference? I can't really pick it up, and on camera I haven't really noticed it either, which is much more sensitive than my eye for most intensive purposes. So for me and my needs on my Ruger PCC, I think the SLX 1X will be finding its way back home on that rifle very soon. As for the GLX, what do I think about it? What else could I really say? It's an SLX on steroids. Slightly different feature set, and you have to see if your values favor that or the SLX. Either which way, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these. And if you're in the market for something like this, whichever one's closer to what your personal preferences are, is what I would recommend. With all that being said, thank you very much for joining me at the range today. I've had a lot of fun filming here. I've also been blessed to not have anyone shooting next to me today. And the last time I was here for like 2 hours before someone showed up and started shooting, but they were on the other range. Unfortunately, the berm is 12 feet that way, so I hear everything. But I love it back here. Hopefully I can continue doing reviews back here and testing, but what I plan on doing now is mounting the SLX back up and running a couple more magazines through it. And you know what? Why don't you come along for the ride? So I'm going to completely wing this. I got 3 10-round magazines. Thank you, New York, for being a super safe state. And what I'm going to plan on doing is maybe a little transitional shooting, maybe a little bit of running and gunning, and just see how well I fare. Gun is clear. I'm going to start out probably at the 25 to 30 yard line. I'll take a couple of shots on the larger plates and progressively step down, and then I'll run up and maybe take a couple of shots from a couple of different positions. So let's see how this goes. This is part of the reason why I like this range. I have a little bit of flexibility here, and I don't have to pick up my brass because brass goblins come and take it. I have no idea how the audio is going to come out on this, so I apologize. I'm going to keep my illumination off because that is my preferred method of shooting this optic, and I love it for it. All right, let's start with the large IPSC target to the right. Hit. I'm going to go with the small one. The left of it, I'm going to aim for the hostage, or rather the bad guy. There we go. Perfect. I was able to spot my shot on the bad guy hostage target and make a proper adjustment and shoot for it. So what am I going to do? I got a couple of rounds left. I'll engage the round plate twice, and then I will advance up, and maybe I'll do some shooting on the move. Beep. Come on, magazine. If you've never practiced walking and shooting at the same time, I highly recommend you go to a range and actually try it. It really does add a new dimension of shooting. A lot of people that know what they're talking about have recommended you don't walk like this, because you could see just how much everything moved. Well, I don't know if you could see it, but you can see how much everything moves. But you crouch down a little bit and heel and toe. I roll from the heel straight to the toe, and I seem to be pretty stable. I'm making pretty good shots, at least one shot, so could be worse. But I got 2 rounds left. I'm gonna go for the round plate at about the 15-ish yard mark while moving, and then I will, I'll do something. And I'm out. It's always good to shoot weak-handed every once in a while. At least I like to shoot weak-handed, and it's not a matter of anything more than being able to take better cover. Of course, I wasn't trying to take great cover behind this drum, but I was able to do pretty good. The SLX is awesome. From 35-ish yards to 15 yards, transitional moving. There's nothing more I need or want on this gun. The SLX 1X Micro Prism from Primary Arms. well, that's my choice. And a huge thank you to my Patreon providers and my Subscribe subscribers. Without you, this truly wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to support my channel but don't want to join either of those, I completely understand. But you could still help by using my affiliate links in the description below, and or like, share, and subscribe as always. Again, thank you very much.